Dante Powell?
Dante Powell, yes.
Awesome. So from Louisiana, moved to Iowa, of all damn places.
Yeah. I originally from Louisiana, moved to Des Moines for an ex, and got here. We broke up, but I liked it, and I was in the mood for a change of scenery anyhow, and so I stuck around, started doing comedy, and now I'm a dumb comedian.
Yeah,
in Iowa. I'm technically an Iowan comedian, but
yeah, the abbreviation. You catch hell about living in Iowa with the abbreviation for Iowa. You know,
the idiots out wandering around. Is that the one?
Yeah.
I always forget exactly what it is, but yeah, a little bit when I go places, people, especially in Minnesota or Nebraska,
yeah,
they're like, you know what Iowa stands for, right? And I always go, no, tell me, what is it?
You know what the hell they're about to say.
Like, I like to see how far I can push. I'm like, no, I've never heard that. And you said it was, what is it again? It was idiots? Oh, wow, that does fit.
Shit. No, it's good. I'm from Nebraska, so I was raised and trained to believe. Yeah. Indoctrinated with that stuff there.
Good. Yeah. I hope you guys have something for like Colorado, and because Iowa's easy. You got there's 4 letters.
It's friendly bantering with the Iowa thing. Colorado and like Nebraska, it gets rough.
Really?
Yeah. Well, mostly on the college football rivalry thing. Like
that makes sense because they used to play each other, and yeah.
Okay. Like Iowa State and Nebraska. There's always been a little bit of rivalry there, but like when you would go to Colorado as a Nebraska fan, you were not treated nice at all. Like they would throw all kinds of crap in the stands at the players, and it gets rough there, man. I don't know what it is. Different environment.
I grew up like an LSU fan, so coming here, my perspective on football in the state, I'm like, you guys are celebrating some mediocrity. And everyone's just like, what? And I'm like, I don't want to talk unless it's national championships. And so when I first moved here, my best friend had also just moved here from Alabama, and he's an Auburn fan, and Auburn won a national championship.
Right.
And then LSU has won one since I've been here, and my Hawkeye and Cyclone friends are just like, whatever. And I'm like, no, talk to me when you're there, not any of this like, oh, we won a Rose Bowl or we made the Rose Bowl or whatever. Like, nah.
We went to a conference championship game. We didn't win it. We almost. Yeah. It's just like,
Christian McCaffrey ruined us in front of
right.
Like, I don't.
People take some of those things way too serious.
Yeah,
way too in. You being a comedian probably have a lot of fun with that, I'd assume.
All I want to do is make fun of everything, and the problem with that is the people who like the thing that I'm making fun of at the time assume that I'm whatever. They just don't. They want a reason to not like me because I'm making fun of a thing they like, and it's fun for me because I'm like, I don't think you really dislike me. I think you're just upset that I'm making fun of something you like, and that's a fun thing to experience.
Yeah, get too emotionally attached.
Right.
The emotional intelligence isn't there.
That's a very good way to describe that. Yeah.
Missing something there,
a little bit.
So, come here for a girl.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work out. When did you decide to start doing comedy?
So I moved here June 12th, 2012. I started comedy April 1st, 2014. So just over a year and a half, like somewhere in that area. Just by sheer coincidence, my best friend Johnny that I mentioned earlier was like, dude, I've been listening to stand-up, and you're funnier than all these people I listen to. And I thought that was very sweet of him to say, but I also thought he was stupid.
Right.
I was like, that's not true, but I appreciate you saying it. And then he was like, no, I mean it. Like, you need to go to this open mic. And he had Googled, he was like, he had like almost like a like a real life PowerPoint. Like he had printed off a PowerPoint. He's like, you can go to this.
So he nerded out on it.
He did. He was like, man, you get 5 minutes. You can practice in your mirror. I downloaded this app onto your laptop. You can set the laptop up and go over your stuff and just make sure it's under 5 minutes. And then I took him up on it. I went and I was like, I'm just going to go watch. I got there. I signed up. I went up. I liked it. Kept going back. And then before I knew it, people were like, hey, we'll give you money if you want to come tell some jokes. And I was like, I like money. So
oh, hell yeah.
give me as much of it as you can. And it just started. It turned into way more than I ever imagined it would be.
So did you think it was going to be more of just like a hobby, just for fun on the side, or?
I thought I would do it once or twice and then be done with it forever.
Gotcha.
Like I was like, I'll be able to tell my grandkids one day, I tried stand-up one time, and then I was like, oh. The funny thing about it is, when I went and I saw how bad some of the other guys were, I was like, oh, you can just do this?
It was just like a strike of confidence. You're like,
yeah, I was like, oh,
that's it?
I was like, I don't know much, but I know I'm funnier than that person.
That's good.
And yeah, it was like, let's do this, man. Get up there and go for it. And fortunately, it's turned out okay.
So, so you're doing that since 2012, you said?
No, since 2014.
2014, okay. Yeah. So quite a while.
Yeah.
Is it pay the bills, or you have to do? I assume.
Yeah, so it does pay the bills, but I also work part-time at the trucking company TMC.
Okay.
So I'm an instructor there. Before I was a comedian, I was a trucker. So I was over the road. Then I moved here and I started working locally, and then comedy took over. And because of the way comedy is structured, I'm generally on the road Thursday through Sunday or Monday, but Monday through Thursday I don't have anything to do.
Right.
And TMC was like, we need CDL instructors. You have a CDL, you have experience. Come teach these people how to drive. And I think they thought, like, okay, this dude will take it seriously and do a good job. And for the most part, I do, but I'm also still a comedian, so it's really interesting dealing with bad drivers.
Oh, yeah. Probably line you up for a few good jokes here and there. Get some new material.
Unfortunately, I haven't started mining it for material yet. Like, I generally leave it alone. What I've realized is doing comedy is a good way to get away from trucking, and trucking is a great way to be away from comedy. I have two totally separate things that fulfill me in very different ways. Comedy being like this huge dream that I always wanted, and I'm achieving my dream. And then trucking over here just being like something that I started and fell in love with, and then being able to actually teach. Like, I didn't know I was going to be giving back to people and showing them how to do things, but it's kind of cool.
That's one of the most rewarding things, I think, is giving back, seeing progression through other people on whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did comedy go this last year?
Ooh,
it couldn't have been easy.
It wasn't easy, but it was good. It was good. So there's a new comedy club in Des Moines called Teehee's Comedy Club. It's on 15th and Walnut. My friend Sid Jurka opened it, and it's fostered a new community of local comedians who do really good stuff. So that's been really fun. My album came out within the last year, and that was life-changing. I wasn't ready for everything that was going to come with that, but that's been pretty cool. So it's been easy on the one hand, because it's like having that camaraderie and that group that I can go and be at Teehee's with and grow with has been cool. But on the other hand, it's like it's been really difficult, because had it not been for the pandemic, I would have been on the road all of last year,
right,
touring, building my name. I would have been potentially so much further along than I am right now. So that part is kind of tough.
That's kind of a bummer, but
it is. But I need to work hard no matter what. So
right.
it'll come back.
You mine in 2020 for jokes. I'm assuming you get some.
Oh yeah. That is. I'm
gold mine.
not letting that go. Like that's all me. I have so much that I learned about myself in the pandemic. So it's like definitely let's talk about this. And I don't know, man. I just kind of like we had a pandemic, but like we also had a derecho last year.
Yeah.
Think about how crazy life is that we had a derecho and like we don't talk about it all the time. Like I survived Hurricane Katrina, moved here, and then there was a derecho. And I'm like, I talk about Katrina all the time. It always comes up. And then there was a like land hurricane that I survived and like saw stuff. I saw it and I just don't talk about it because it was in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
That is nuts to me, but it's the reality we've created or been given, I guess.
Yeah. So I wasn't. We didn't move here till November because of, excuse me, because of COVID. My job, I pretty much got reassigned. I was living in South Dakota, just outside of Sioux Falls.
Oh, nice.
And I heard about the derecho, but I'd never heard that word before. I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on there. And then, somebody was like trying to explain it to me and I wasn't invested in the conversation. They were talking about high winds and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's flatland. You're going to get high winds. I don't know what the big deal is. Well, and then I get here and then I start seeing like there's still damage and still roofs blown off. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, like
and I started researching a little bit more. I'm like,
it is.
Damn.
The joke I made was just that like it made me feel like I was in a Lifetime movie where I like went through Katrina and I finally got away and got some peace. And Katrina was like, guess who just showed up out of the like Katrina's the guy in the small town that the lady moved to and he just shows up out of the blue like I'm still here. Like gosh, I could never escape you. But I like my parents even they were like, wait a minute, a hurricane on like that doesn't make are you thinking of maybe a tornado? And I'm like that too a little bit, but it was something that I couldn't believe. And then yeah, because it like I said, because it was in the middle of a pandemic, I was just like, all right, that's done. Let's go try not to kill people by breathing on them.
Right.
So
That was the craziest part of I mean, you guys had the derecho going on, but just seeing how. So I was working between like all over in South Dakota. I'd have to go to Minneapolis, and there's all kinds of different like things going on all the time there. Oh
gosh, yeah.
And I was just like, it was crazy. That's an overused term in the last 18 months, 12 to 18, but
so fitting.
I don't know another word to use to describe, some of the things we were seeing.
Yeah, man, it was a lot, but I don't know. Like, I think it's either gonna make us better or like it's gonna be hard to be worse than that.
Yeah. I try to put it on a scale. Where's the bottom?
Yeah.
I hope we've hit that bottom. Like it's.
Well, I mean, again, we're like, so the other day, I have some friends who are incredibly like anti-Trump, and that's just how it goes. I have some friends who love the guy, but the other day. No, yesterday, I saw that he had put out a statement where he called because the horse that won the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, I saw that.
The horse that won the Kentucky Derby got popped for cheating, performance-enhancing drugs, and Trump called it a junkie.
Yeah.
He called the horse
like it's
a junkie.
The horse's damn fault.
And I was talking to some of my friends who are like anti-Trump, and I'm like, how do you not find this hilarious? And they're like, you know what? Like, you're right. Like, that's funny. Like, that, like, calling a horse a junkie is hilarious on its own. And I was like, at first I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. But then I thought about it and I was like, that's like solid progression for them. And then I started looking at like these other things that I would see that, I would expect from my more conservative friends who would say certain things, and they like I had a conservative friend who was like, "Oh, don't worry, that cop in Minneapolis is going to prison. Like he shouldn't have done what he did." And I'm like, "Wait, why are you the one telling me this?"
Right.
And it was just like, "Wait a minute, maybe the worst of us is being purged," and that it's like a hopeful optimism I have for it. But I also know that like I can go on Twitter right now and find a plethora of bad news. Just for me personally, I stopped looking for it.
Right.
To hopefully
it's out there. You don't have to look hard. It's all around.
Listen, anytime I think that I may be falling into is this about to get bad, I'll just go look up the junkie horse. Yeah. And I'll laugh again and I'll be like, all right, let's keep it moving.
That's a good way to just look at life in general. Let's just all right, junkie horse. Today was a bad day.
Yeah.
What did Trump say now?
Old junkie horse here.
Yeah, it was crazy how polarizing he was, and I mean, still is. But it really it was already polarizing before the pandemic. I think the pandemic and how people had to respond to it, and being out here, whether it be the mask thing or anything that people were debating, it really the pandemic really exposed. This happened, I think, on both sides of it, the left and the right mindsets of, if you're more of a individualist or a collectivist. Your cards, everybody's just got laid out on the table, whether they wanted them or not. It was really interesting. And I mentioned emotional intelligence earlier. Yeah. Everybody lost that. The ones that did have it was gone. Everybody just both sides.
It was interesting because the thing I was seeing during the pandemic would be like people agreeing with people they knew they weren't supposed to agree with, and then they didn't know what to do. They would just be like, "Oh crap, I don't think I'm supposed to like this certain thing," and it's like what you like or feel what you actually feel. And it just became a weird sentiment to see people more committed to who they thought they should be than who they actually were.
Right.
And it was like, man.
Some doubled down.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's some of the crazy.
It's nuts. Like I couldn't imagine living a life where I had to hide such true feelings about who I am. Because like, again, I'm a left-leaning person, I think. I don't know anymore. Sometimes people on the left are like, you are obviously a Republican. I'm like, whoa, gosh, don't do that to me. But but like I would go on record and be like, I hate wearing a mask, but I'm going to do it. Like I care about my community. And if people smarter than me think that a mask helps, then it's a slight inconvenience. Right. Like I've done way more inconvenient things to help other people. Like this, one time coming into Norwalk, I was coming in from a show one night, and right there at I don't know the streets here that well, but right at so I was coming, I guess it would be south into Norwalk, and right there at the light that takes you to the new park that they built. There was a loose dog. And so I could see that it had a collar on. I stopped. It was late at night. And then I see a car pull up and these people are chasing their dog. And I like pull across the median and like kind of try to block the dog in.
Right.
And I'm tired. I'm trying to get home. And then I realized like, oh crap, I can't get back to, like I got to go all the way back down to the get and go and the come and go. And then do another U-turn. And I was like, man, that was really inconvenient. Like, that's way more inconvenient than wearing a mask. Like, if I could stop and help these strangers corral their dog, like, wearing a mask in a store that I'm going to be in for 5 minutes really isn't that big a deal. So I just tried to add some perspective to things. And I'm like, cool. Like, now we're good to go. Like,
right. Yeah. I think that's most people had that common sense approach of same. I got buddies on both sides of the thought process, and
fun.
it can be. It sure can be. But some of them were just like, it's had this like constitution. Like, it's funny, the Constitution only gets invoked on an election season. Apparently, everybody becomes a constitutionalist all of a sudden. But that aside, but you know, I'd have a couple that are just like, no, that's they can't force me to do. Well, no, they can't.
Right.
Doesn't mean you need to be a dick.
Right.
Like, it's like the store asked you. Like, if you want to get into that, like, the philosophy of it, well, okay. Would you take your shoes off in my house if I asked you to? Well, yeah, it's your house. Well, okay, a business is asking you to take off or put on a mask. So, like, how hard is this? Like
I think the thing for me was always like, I had friends who would be like, they're trying to control you, and I was like, all right, well, like, let's say they are. Cool. But let's also say that they're trying to save lives. Would that make them kind of noble to you? Like, wouldn't you think that was good? If they were genuine in saying they were trying to save lives, would you like that? And all my friends would be like, well, yeah, I mean, if that's what I thought they were really into. And I'm like, just like, that's why I wear one.
Right.
I'm like, is that enough? And they're like, well, no, not really. I need Fauci. I need him to prove to me that like, good luck, man. Or, you know, whatever it would be. I'm just like, it's a tough spot to be in, that everything requires polarization. And not only that, but it requires polarization in a way that's like, I already know what side of this I have to be on. Yeah. You can't even think about it a little bit and be like, wait, guys, I don't like wearing the mask, but I'm going to. So, like, we can at least agree that we don't like them, or, you know, finding common ground in whatever it may be. Like, that was a thing that a lot of my left-leaning friends would be upset with me about. They'd be like, no, like, if you agree with one thing, you agree with all of it. And I was like, but not really. No. Like, I'm also an adult who knows how to differentiate things.
Yeah, there's a certain part where you draw a line and have some, like, it's you mentioned, like, you know, well, if Fauci said it, and whether that be a Trump thing or a Fauci thing or whoever, like, when we hang everything we do on what one person says, that scares the hell out of me.
It should. It should. Can you
like if everybody did what I thought was right, man, this would be a different world. Like, it might be more fun at times, but it might be a little dangerous and scary.
Oh gosh, if you let me run anything, like, I have friends who every now and again I would like post these random rants on Facebook, these really long wordy things, and my friends would be like, "Wow, you should run for office," and I would laugh in their face. I'd be like, "You don't know what kind of trouble you would be in if they told me I had any power." Like, I would arrest you for so much stuff. Yeah. Like, I just would. I'm just telling you. Like,
just for fun.
No, because, like, I don't like some stuff that I shouldn't care about.
Right.
I don't need the power. Like, give it to the people who are interested in making things. And I do pride myself on being a person that wants things to be better, but at the same time, I'm petty, man. Like, if you give me enough power, I'm going to absolutely misuse it.
Fair enough. At least you're honest about it. Like,
I just need so I guess when I run for governor in 2022, you'll just play this back.
Heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, good luck. It's nice.
Dante 2022.
Yeah, taking everybody to jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got to come up with some new slogans on there. Yeah.
That's the best I can do, man. That's the only campaign promise I can make, is that a lot of y'all are going to end up going to jail. It may not be in the traditional sense where we just like lock you up and take away your freedom, but you got to stop some of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think part of it, that whether it be I think people miss the responsibility of not only what you're saying, but how you're acting, and how that translates beyond this conversation, or how it translates to your children or your neighbor's kids, or like some of the simplest things. Since, and I guess bringing this back to Norwalk, since coming here, like, for the most part, it's been fine. Everybody's pretty quiet, laid back, mind their own business. I'm cool with that. And moving somewhere in the middle of a pandemic where you don't know how people are going to react. So most of the time when I'd move, I'd go introduce myself to my neighbors, knock on doors. But I'm like, I don't know if I can do that through this whole thing. I don't know how everybody's going to react. So like, I've just minded my P's and Q's. A couple of them would come over when I'm out dinking around in the garage and chit chatting. So for the most part, it's been good.
Yeah.
But then I've seen some weird behaviors, and I don't know if they were COVID related or not. I just chalked them up to be, just to give people benefit of the doubt.
Good luck with that. That's just very kind of you.
I really hope. No, there's a few that I don't want to get too deep into anything.
No, go deep.
There's one in particular that just has bothered me. It was the first bad experience I had since I came here. Now our street out in front of here, super tight, right? And so we moved here in November. The snow had just hit, and the snow's like stuck to every street sign. Literally can't see anything. I didn't see that there was a no parking sign, and there was also a huge drift of snow blocking the fire hydrant. So literally, for 4 or 5 days, I was parking my car in front of a fire hydrant on the wrong side of the street with a big sign that says no parking this side of the street. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I really didn't care. I was trying to move, and I'm working the whole time. So
yeah,
really wasn't paying attention. Now, granted, is what it is. One of my neighbors stuck a sticker to my car.
Oh, no.
Not come to my house and knock on the door and ask, hey, you're not supposed to park there. Like, honestly, I was moving so fast, I wouldn't have cared. I've been like, oh, hell, sorry. Like, I'll go. That's how I would have responded. I wouldn't have got offended. I've been like, oh, sorry about that. And I was like, all right, that's kind of weird. And so, and the only reason I knew is I put one of those little Ring doorbells up.
Yeah.
And I seen that happen. And I was like, I ripped it off, and I actually went to the website. They spent like $40 or $50 on a pack of these things. So that was kind of disturbing. Wow. Happened a second time, parking in a different spot in a different location altogether.
Wow.
And then saw them putting a sticker on another neighbor's car just last week. And why can't people talk to each other? I don't care that they put a sticker on my car. I'm really not that mad about it. I'm more concerned that that's how people are reacting today, because I'm not used to that. I come from a town of 700 people. We all knew each other by first and last name. I knew most of their middle names. I mean, and then, moved around a lot, but I've never had that type of attitude, this passive aggressive sticky notes on cars. Oh, no. So weird.
Like, I've noticed the passive aggressive nature of the Midwest in general is just strange to me. Like, as a Southerner, we're incredibly polite, but we're also very direct.
Right.
And so, the sticker people, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. Like, one of the jokes that we ended up cutting from my album is just the one about how when I went to Walmart once, a lady left a fake ticket on my car. It was just one of those tickets that was like, you park like an idiot, make sure you don't ever do this again. And I was like, I appreciate the snark, but I want to mess with it. I want that person to suffer. So what I do is, when I go somewhere now, I just park and put my own fake ticket on my windshield, and I know that person is going to come look at it, and all I've written on my fake ticket is, hey, I know you were going to come give me a fake ticket, but looks like I beat you to it. P.S. I'm hiding in bushes nearby with a gun. And I like watching them duck and run away is my favorite thing in the world. But that passive aggressive nature, just doing things in that way, it's like you said, even if you are going to put the sticker on the car, to me, what I would like more is if you put the sticker on my car and then you come to my door and you go, hey, I just wanted you to know I left one of these stickers on your car. You're not allowed to park right there, but I found these really snarky stickers and I think they're funny, so I left one on your car.
Yeah, right. That would actually, yeah.
I would be like, oh, snap, where'd you get those? Can we go hand out some more to some people? We're going to talk to them. we're gonna do some more, but we're not just gonna leave them. We're gonna let them know. That way, they're not out here wondering who's the crazy person.
Right.
And so, more than likely, your neighbor won't listen to this. But if they do, at least now they know that you're hiding in bushes nearby.
Yeah.
I don't want the FBI to show up.
I don't need any of that. I don't need that kind of attention. No. But I mean, that's just like a small example. I've seen some worse things some people have done, and I don't know. It's disappointing to see, and that's why I'm like, I just want to chalk it up to COVID. Mm-hmm. Let this all pass, and then everybody. Because honestly, I don't think I seen it as much prior to COVID, and I wonder if it was because we're also busy or not paying attention. That's the other thing is we are paying attention to everything now. So,
yeah, you have to.
Maybe that's the only reason I've never seen it before. And maybe when a whole bunch of other stuff's going on, I won't notice it anymore. I'll just blow it off.
I wish I felt that way about it, but like I said, I've had it done to me at Walmart. Like someone left a fake ticket on my car, and yeah, I'll cross my fingers that it's COVID as well. And
yeah,
maybe afterwards I'll feel differently about it. But it's just a strange existence to just be a part of right now, and you know, we'll get out of it. Like one of the things I enjoy about living in Norwalk is that when I go to Des Moines, there's this weird feeling of everyone trying to convince everyone else that the importance of what they do is important. And here it's just kind of more acknowledged. It's like, oh, you're a fireman, cool. You put out the fires.
Right.
I'm the goofy comedian that lives next door, cool. I have a comedian neighbor. If I need a comedian, I can go talk to him. This lady's the vet. If I need to take my dog to see the vet, I can go see the vet. Whereas, like, again, just 10 minutes away, it felt like when I lived in Des Moines proper, it was like, yeah, just so you guys know, I'm a vet. Like, we all understand that I'm the veterinarian around here, right?
It was almost
Cool.
like looking for an acknowledgement of everything.
Right. And it's like, okay, you're the vet. Like, if I need a vet, I'll come see. Like, again, the needing to prove the importance was a lot for me. And so being back in a place that actually feels like small town neighborhoody was good for me, because, you know, I grew up in a small town as well. And it feels good to feel like I'm part of a community, not like, not some individual that's part of a collective. It feels like everything is kind of one.
There's like a greater appreciation for each other and more
Right.
Instead of having to chase your self-relevance. Mm-hmm. It's just there when you're in a smaller community. I get that.
Yeah.
Like everywhere we've lived, we've always like lived in a small town outside the city.
Yeah.
Like wherever we go,
Yeah.
because I'm like, there was one we lived inside of Lincoln, Nebraska for a while. We were on the edge of town, but like that was the most we like got into any type of city scenario, and
Nice.
And it was just like, I don't know, it wasn't bad. That was the only time my wife and I lived in an apartment. We were trying to save money, and you know, it was like, well, got to do what we got to do. But yeah, that was a weird feeling, because an apartment building to me is just weird. You're sharing this big, huge building with all these people that I didn't know any of them.
Right.
Like I seen them walking by them. Hey, how's it going? Like you act like you know them, but I don't remember any of their names. I don't know if I ever knew any of their names. I park by the same guy every day. Like, we go to work at the same time. We're like, what's up, dude?
You create the habits you can create, and then, you know, the rest is just kind of like,
And then one day, living in an apartment, we were there a couple years. Like every now and then, somebody was just gone.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, wonder what happened to that guy. Oh, somebody else is here now. Life just goes on. It's such a weird existence to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to get to know a couple of them, but yeah, it just doesn't work out.
It's tough. It's a tough spot to be in to do that. But again, if you like if you feel like you're a part of the community, then that then makes it easier it makes whatever living situation so much easier.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I take my pet to the vet in Des Moines still, it's whatever. But if I go to the vet here in Norwalk, now I know this person. Like I go to the doctor here in Norwalk,
Right.
and I'm like, oh man, this is nice to go in, and like my doctor is just Kyle, and he knows me, and he's like, you know, how have the show's been, and you written anything new? You got a joke for me or whatever? Just like you know, it's to the point now where when I call and order takeout from the Chinese restaurant, they're like, oh, hey, can I get an order of shrimp fried rice? And they're like, yeah, you want your crab rangoon? And I'm like, oh man.
They're like, oh, that's Dante.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is really nice. Or like when I'm at a show, you know, at the Funny Bone or at Teehee's, and someone comes up to me and I'm like, oh, hey, you know, whoever it is that is the vet or my doctor or the guy from Get and Go or Come and Go. They're like, I didn't know you were a comedian. And I'm like, well, now you know.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, this is pretty cool. Or, you know, I get someone free tickets and they come out and enjoy their evening. And it's like, it's really cool to feel like you're a part of a community, but by the same token, I still feel so incredibly invisible here, and invisible in a good way, meaning like I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm playing up to anything here.
Right.
Like I feel like I'm just some dude that lives in town.
Yeah.
And nobody's like, oh, he's a comedian. You should like go giggle with him.
Yeah.
Like, no, he's just a dude. He's just a dude.
What do you do around comedians?
Right. Right. Don't trust me. Some people get real weird around us. Like, hey, I got a joke I want to tell you. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I can just tell when someone approaches me, I can tell immediately from the energy.
So, I've practiced this.
Yeah. But then again, there are some times where someone approaches me and they're like, okay, I have a joke. And I feel like I need to tell you. I'm like, okay, let's hear what this is about. Like I said, generally, if someone is like anxious and nervous, I'm like, okay, I want to hear what you have to say, because you got some like there's something to what you're saying. Like there's some risk involved. You're worried about it.
You ain't nervous for nothing.
When somebody comes up to me and they're like, oh, buddy, I got one you're gonna like. I'm like, oh boy. Buckle in, because I'm going to hate this.
Yeah.
It's almost like a 100% certainty. Every now and again, someone will surprise me and they'll be like, I'll be like, oh man, that was actually really funny. But for the most part, it's the people who come up to me, and generally it's like children or like just shy people. And they're like, okay, I'm nervous, but here you go. And they spill it. And I'm like, wow, excellent.
Yeah.
So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So like the nervousness or confidence level that they have. They're just...
Right. I know. I can tell immediately. I'm like, okay, this person's going to nail it, or, all right, I guess I better get ready.
Yeah. My 12-year-old, he's really been trying to get good at jokes and memes. Yeah. And for the longest time, like he would like try to set something up and the punchline would make no sense. It had nothing to do with anything that he set up. And he was doing the same with memes. And one of my buddies came over and I was like, it like hurts my heart to tell him that these suck. Can you go tell him these suck and try to help him? But it worked. It worked. My buddy came up and he was cool about it. He didn't like come out in his face and tell him, these suck. Like he was like, hey, what if you did this, and started mixing them together and trying to point out how they make sense now if he mixes them. And now randomly I'll be at work driving down the road or something, my phone ding, and I'll look and my son just makes this meme. I'm like, do not share that with anybody. Like, it's like
that's excellent, man. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's the like I said, I don't want to like, one of the reasons I didn't move to LA or New York or Chicago is because I don't want to be a comedian for the stuff. Like, I want to be a comedian because I want people to think I'm funny.
Right.
So I could go to LA and work on an image. I could go to New York and work on an image, or Chicago and work on an image. And try to
brand a little bit.
Yeah, brand it out and become like super rich, whatever. But there's something fun about being able to do what I want to do comedically. Like, I can go anywhere in the country. Like, I tour everywhere. And when they bring me up, they go, here from Des Moines, Iowa. And people are like, what?
What?
And then I'm funny. And they're like, wait, why are you in Des Moines?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, well, you know, long story.
Who's your, I don't know how to, I don't want to say idolize, but favorite comedians out there? Like, what if you could mimic or be in somebody else's shoes and just take over where they're at right now?
Oh man, so one of my good friends, Janelle James, is the funniest person in the world. She is so good. She has some stuff on Netflix if you want to look her up. She's just so funny. She views the world in a way that's excellent. There's Dave Chappelle. That guy is just
he's awesome.
He's the GOAT. And then probably this guy Nate Bargatze, who I work with sometimes. He's so funny, like just the funniest dude. Like, just so super silly and funny. And I appreciate how he talks about how dumb he is a lot. And I think for me, that's very relatable.
Yeah.
Because despite having a certain level of intelligence, I think one of my favorite things about myself is that I recognize, like, I don't know a lot.
Right.
And
right.
I leave myself open to learn. And Nate is very, he's just very silly and makes you enjoy how dumb he is.
Yeah. I always hated like the like putting yourself down type thing and like, you know, saying that, but you almost have to do it as a term of endearment to yourself. Cause I know where you're coming from. Cause like, I've done other podcasts, other streams. Like I tried, don't get on Twitch, people. That's
just
weird.
Did a show on Twitch last Friday. My friend she's really popular on Twitch.
Oh, nice.
And she did a stand-up show on there. But like, yeah, when the pandemic first started, everyone was like, Dante, you should get on Twitch. And I tried, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
Don't know how.
It's fairly easy. I got sucked into and it's funny because like I judge people for getting over politicized. Well, I like nothing else to do. Let's see what Twitch politics is up to.
Boy.
Man, that is a weird world that I got sucked into that for a little while, and I made some good buddies out of there. I still I still chat with a couple of them on there, but like everybody's a freaking philosopher, and I'm like, oh, and. One of the funniest ones. One of my good buddies I went to high school with. He's just an old farm boy. He's very, very like libertarian-esque type person. Yeah. And he gets on there and it's this like debate panel. There's like 12 people and it's just rabble. They're all screaming at each other. I can't make heads or tails of what's going on. And they were talking about something to do with like school vouchers or something. They were debating that. And everybody's screaming and yelling. He goes, "Hey, wait, who all on here actually has a kid? Raise your hand." And he's the only one with his hand up. He goes,
wow.
"Looks like I won that one." I was just like, but I was like, I started looking around at all the faces on the panel. I'm like, yeah, none of you you're not even old enough to have kids, are you? Like, what am I doing? I'm in my mid-30s on this Twitch panel with all these people.
Yeah, man, like a bunch of 13-year-olds just like, nah, man, like, I'm gonna have kids one day.
Yeah. Jeez. Let me tell you how school vouchers don't work or do work. And like, oh, yeah. It's really, when you realize, yeah, sometimes what you're doing and you find out how silly it is, that's when I go, I'm kind of dumb. Like,
well, yeah, man, there's no, like, I don't think there's any harm in being dumb or ignorant. It's staying dumb or ignorant that I'm like, okay, you need to work on that.
Yeah.
like I won't judge you for not knowing something, but when you have access to the information, like especially now, like there's no excuse. Like, you can find out anything. And I don't know, like if you if you have a true sense of interest, you like a lot of people just want to go out and reaffirm their beliefs. You can do that. You can go and look up all the links that are going to say, hey, the way you already view it is right. But where's the fun in that, man? Like, why aren't you challenging yourself? Why aren't you going, yeah, I might feel this way, but like, what are the people, like nothing in the world makes me more sure that the earth isn't flat than talking to someone who believes the earth is flat.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh man, like what if I did this about everything that I think I'm sure of? And then I start digging into it and I'm like, okay, sometimes I'm spot on. I'm right where I need to be. But sometimes I go into it and I go, oh, wait a minute. I was so wrong about this. And so like, I'm never going to wake up and go, you know what? The earth is probably flat. But the other things that
But one day you might wake up and find out Dale Earnhardt Jr. is your president.
Well, listen, I'll take it, man. I will take it. I'm not. That's my one wish.
That one's worth it. No, the flat Earth comparison. That's really good analogy because you're not gonna just go, oh, it is.
Right.
You can't talk yourself into it, and it would take in a severe amount of information to be able to turn your thought process into believing something like that.
Right. But there are other things that I have come around on with more information that at a certain time in my life, I would have been like, no way. Like I grew up extremely Christian. I was taught that gay marriage was wrong. And then one day I realized that like, oh, my parents have been divorced a bunch. Like, what are you guys doing to respect the sanctity of marriage? And then I realized that like they don't care about it. They're like, what? We don't care about gay people. We think gay people should absolutely be allowed to be married. And like, but you had me in a church that taught me differently.
Right.
And they're like, my bad. Like, that's
my bad.
That's not a my bad. Like you,
yeah.
Like, so here I am at like 12, 13, and they're like, we're sorry. We reaffirmed that in you to this age. And I'm 12, 13, and I have that revelation. And I'm imagining my friends who carry that into their like 20s and then have to make an adjustment. Like that couldn't be easy.
Right.
Like, it wasn't easy for me as a 12-year-old child with my parents telling me that. So like you've lived in this, you've believed it to be true. Like, but if you push back against it and you learn and you change the way you view things, then that's where all my like, that's where all the good in me comes from, is my willingness to go, okay, well, I was wrong about this. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Let me extend empathy as opposed to anger. And then it's like, all right, we're working here.
Do you ever still like, I like kind of how you were talking through that. We didn't grow up very religious in my family, like kind of like value wise, but didn't go to church and didn't have a whole lot of that going on. But it was like, it was picking bits and pieces of everything that we found good in others and live by those type of values. And now full grown and family of my own, like kid looks at you like you have all the answers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm wrong probably 75% of the time. I just make it sound okay. Like, it's like, that's been probably one of the hardest things is to sit here. Like if my son repeats something that I said like 3 days ago and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Was that right? Like, I don't know about that. Maybe I need to go back and look that up. Like, then I start getting worried. I'm like, I don't want him to like have, some cringe weird thought that's not true out there just because we watched some YouTube video and I laughed at it and I was like, that's probably true. Like,
you have to.
You got to be careful, but I don't think unless you have like those little moments. I know I don't personally. I don't think about that until I have that little aha moment of, oh no, this is right in front of me right now.
Yep.
Then I have to like readjust, reevaluate, and think about it.
When
but
you have
I'm
to
like,
deal
how many
with
times
it.
did I interact with somebody today where I probably did something just like that, and they took it hook, line, and sinker, whatever I said, and I'm like, man. As long as I'm worried about him, I guess that's the important part.
One of my friends the other day gave me like my favorite compliment ever. He's like, you're he's like, you're such a good dude. You have to have some kids. He's like, that's how the world gets better. Is good people have kids and then they teach them to be good. And I was like, but what if they don't? Like, I worry about that. And he's like, no, you'll be fine. Like, I want you to have some kids. And I was like, that's a little weird, but I appreciate that compliment very much. And you know, the way he described it so eloquently by saying, like, good people need to have kids to make more good people. I was like, oh yeah,
right,
true. So
it makes sense, but then with that logic, you have to take it in reverse, and that's not a very good thing to say.
No.
Maybe that's when we go hide in the bush.
Yeah, it's a numbers thing.
Put a ticket on the car, go hide in the bush in that moment. Yes.
Jeez, we're just out here trying to. 2 more bad people have had kids. Well, we need 3 good pregnancies. Right now.
Oh boy, this is a weird contest we just started, but yeah.
Good grief. Just win.
Yeah. What are some of the best comedy spots around here? I love taking my wife to stand up. We never get to go. And especially in the last year and a half, but like living in South Dakota, like nobody comes up there.
You know what I do? I do Boss's Comedy Club in Sioux Falls. So it's at Boss's Chicken and Pizza.
Okay, and
they do it out of the Ramada Inn now. But I went there a couple months ago during a snowstorm, and oh boy, that was a real rough weekend, but really nice place. So I don't know if you have listeners in Sioux Falls, but they should look up Boss's Comedy Club. It's really nice. But in this area, you've got the Des Moines Funny Bone. You've got Teehee's Comedy Club, and they do shows every weekend. Teehee's is normally Friday, Saturday, and then the Funny Bone will get you some Thursdays, but Friday, Saturday as well. And then there are open mics around town at so there's a Wednesday open mic at Mistress Brewing in Ankeny, a Tuesday open mic at Lefty's Live Music in the Drake neighborhood, and then a Thursday open mic at Teehee's, which, again, downtown 15th and Walnut. So, like, there are good places to go, and there are some indie shows that will run out of, different bars and things like that. But, yeah, I was thinking of trying to do a show in Norwalk at some point, and I was just like, I don't want to take on the responsibility of being the comedy guy here. Like, I like just living here.
Right, yeah.
So
you don't want to walk into Fairway and everybody be like, whoa, hey, it's Dante.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I say some stuff sometimes where I'm like, I don't think people want to be associated with that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to be like, yeah, buddy, I'm on board with all that stuff you were saying. And I'm like, that was a joke.
Yeah.
Like, that was not real.
That guy's popping his head out of a bush.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's my guy right there. Sir, that was not real.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about the stand-up? Like, I listen to other podcasts, other comedians, and is it the rush of the crowd or the feel of the room? Like, what keeps you going back up there? And I'm a hobby dork. I do different hobbies. Like, this is the longest hobby I've done in a while.
Wow.
And I usually drop them because I get bored with things really fast. But this one I haven't. This has probably been my favorite. And to me, it's talking to interesting people, trying new things, and having sometimes weird conversations, sometimes cool conversations. But
yeah,
I think the authenticity of something like this is what I like doing. I really don't care if anybody watches or listens. Never have. I have fun just doing it.
That's how I am. That's how I am about stand up, man. If you took away all my money, you said that we're taking your album off of iTunes and Spotify and everything, I would still find a way to go tell jokes to people.
Yeah.
And it's to me, there's something really cool about these strange ideas I have that to me make me laugh, and just knowing that my job is to translate them from the inception of them making me laugh to making not like it's. If I was just telling you jokes right now, like I would enjoy making you laugh. But there's something about getting an entire room of so many different kinds of people on one accord to laugh at these singular ideas that's just really cool to me.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that is just something that I thought of on the toilet.
Right.
And everybody, like 400 people, just reaffirmed me that it was a good thought.
That was funny.
Yeah, like, and it's cool. It's really cool. And you know, despite a lot of people talk about like cancel culture and things like that, but it's so freeing, man. Like the craziest stuff in the world can happen, and I get to just talk about it. I was doing a show recently at Teehees, actually, and the police drove by with the lights on and the sirens going, and I went and hid behind the curtain, and I was like, hey, let me know when they're gone or whatever. And like that impromptu, like goofy thing that I got to experience with just the people that were there that night in that moment was so much fun for me. There was another time I was at a show and this guy's house arrest monitor went off.
I think I saw that YouTube clip.
Yeah, and it was like, what? How is this happening to me? And I had to, so I had to like improvise on the spot and like make it work. But like, where else does that sort of thing happen?
Right.
And so it's like, you got to see the clip of that, but my version of that was way different. I was on stage with like these bright lights shining on me. And in the moment I'm going, all right, Dante, what are you going to do? 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 And I'm like slowly going through it and making it work and making it work and making it work. And when you get to the end and it all worked out, it's like, man, that was really cool to be a part of.
It's fun.
It's so much fun. It's just dope. I love it. Like I said, there's just something about that goes, all I had up there were my ideas. Yeah. All I had was my brain, and we figured it out. That's the thing.
So did you just jump straight up on stage, or did you do some like improv, or like you said, your buddy had the PowerPoint thing all set up and whatnot? But like, what kind of, how did you brush up on skills, or you just jump up and went after it? And I imagine bombing a few times, and
I jumped up and went after it. I bombed, but it was never like horror story bombing. Just be like, I didn't get as many laughs as I wanted. But when I first started, not long after I started, this guy Josh Chamberlain moved here from Chicago and opened an improv theater. So I did start doing improv at the Last Laugh that used to be open here. And so I was doing stand-up and improv, and then the theater shut down, and then I just like stuck to stand-up. But yeah, for the most part, it was just, I'm going to try this thing out, and I jumped right into it, and it was like sink or swim, baby. Like, brush up on the people you like. I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of good people who helped me out along the way, and you know,
blessed with it.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Funny Bone. What was the other one?
Teehees Comedy Club.
That one's owned by one of your buddies, you said?
Sid Jorker, yep.
Gotcha. And then you have shows coming up?
I do. I'm doing a roast this Saturday of my best friend Bernard Bell at Teehees. And then next weekend we do our regular stand-up show at Teehees. And then this is I'm doing a show on when is it? There we are. So on the 28th, 2 Fridays from now, in St. Charles, Iowa, at the Talk Shop Lounge, which is like 20 minutes from here. And small town, but they come out and they love comedy. They're nice. I've done it before. They're the best people in the world.
Just a good crowd.
Just a good crowd.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I wanted to make sure I mentioned them as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
They're my people.
Favorite thing about Norwalk in general? Like we talked, you know, the being able to just be around there, but like some objective things about the town that are it's just there.
I love the like small businesses here.
Gotcha.
I love going to Fairway. I know that's not technically a small business, but to me, it's a small business. I love going to the Dollar Tree, same thing. I love going to the Ace Hardware. I love going to the Dollar General. I love going to the Wendy's ice cream shop and the 804 Main. Like, I love all these places that are just good people trying to make a living by providing excellent services.
Yeah. I 804 Main, that's the bar downtown, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Excellent food.
Been there once. I haven't had the food.
Oh, you should definitely get the food there. It's
okay, no,
really
I'm going to
good.
have to go there and get some food. I love my food.
Man, there's some great food in Norwalk.
Yeah?
The China Dragon place that I mentioned, like, they're really good.
Gotcha.
There's I think it's El Dorado, the Mexican place.
Okay.
They're pretty good. So yeah, there's stuff here.
It's so weird when I first moved here, like it was like I thought the town like ended like on the other side of as the curve starts going. I was like, well, there's nothing over there. I was like, I thought this was like a town of like 500 people. I think I was here for like 3 weeks before I actually like drove to the other side of town. I was like, oh, there's like a whole nother world over here.
Yeah, look at Norwalk. Yeah, downtown Norwalk, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, and I am usually really good with directions. No matter where I'm at, I can always be like, that's north, and like there's something about like the little curve and then the little curve, and like when I'm over at my kid over at the school, like he's in middle school.
Yeah,
I'm like, why is the sun over there? I'm like, that's not north. Like I don't know. There's like this little vortex over by the school where I just lose my sense of direction all of a sudden.
I get it. There's a lot happening, man. Like it like adjusts and turns and doubles back. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah,
it seems like, and then one of the other thing that I think I found the most fascinating about this town is it almost feels like there's, I don't want to say like two groups of folks, but there's like the originals and then everybody that came later.
Yeah,
and I don't want to say there's animosity, but there's definitely difference of opinions between some folks in this town, and
yeah,
it's so weird. I saw it the one time I went to the bar. I see it on Facebook all the time. Now,
oh man,
that's something different. Where I'm not going to get too deep in any of that, but I mean that is what it is. But you see it. There's like a couple little different pieces of this town coexisting right now.
The funny, like, because I spent, like, I don't have any children, so I don't have to be super into anything here. Like, I can just kind of go about my day.
Right.
But I could imagine having children and having to be in the social circles of that, like with parenting and things like that, just in general around here. Yeah, that would be, it would be interesting because, like you said, like, I just noticed that there are ways for me to avoid the people I know that I wouldn't have good interactions with.
Sure. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being in a spot where, say, our kids were in the same class.
Right.
And then going, well, I got to go and I got to be cordial to those people.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, my experience is padded by that. And I'm thankful for it. But, you know, I like it here and I hope to live here for a while. So when I do have kids, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to be mindful of that.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just like, you know, when I said I seen a little bit of the bar, but it wasn't like nothing like you see on Facebook. And
oh yeah,
that's another fascinating thing is people are pretty brave online, but that's not who they really are sometimes. Like
the funniest thing in the world to me is that, like, I have probably over 100 experiences of people talking absolutely crazy to me online And then they meet me and they're like,
That's not what I meant.
yeah. And I'm like,
I didn't say that.
I'm like, just so you know, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't care. Like,
Right.
I'm not the type of person that's gonna, like, I'm not gonna meet up with you and fight.
Right.
I mean, if that's what someone really wants, I'm sure I could be talked into it, but I'm not.
Right.
Like, I'm not gonna be like, okay, where do you live?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm an adult. We can talk this out, or not, or we can just go on about our business. But yeah, the way that people sometimes talk to one another online, like,
It's a different kind of passive aggressive.
yeah, so it's passive aggressive.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
That's
I'm gonna say whatever I want to you. Like, this there's, you know what? I won't talk about that. I was going to mention a woman who had some unkind things to say to me, and then decided that she liked me after she came to a show. And she was like, you're not that bad. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, I'm such and such. And I was like, who is that? And
right.
She was like, from your arguments online a couple years ago. And I was like, ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And she had like screenshots. She was like, you don't remember saying this and this and this? And I was like, no. And I also don't remember you calling me bleep, bleep, bleep.
Right.
And I'm like, why were you being so mean to me? She's like, I don't know, but I do like you. And you were so funny and kind. I'm like, man, like...
That's good though. That's one of those moments that like most people don't have throughout the day.
Right,
they go,
right.
"Oh, I was kind of being an ass."
Right. And so it was so weird that she was like, she had harbored all of this, all of these feelings, and I had let it go to the point that I didn't remember who she was. And then she had held on it so much that she remembered I was a comedian, went to a comedy show, put two and two together. Oh, that's the comedian I was talking smack to on Facebook. Like, had the screenshots available after the show, and then was like, I needed to come to grips with the fact that you are very sweet and charming and funny. And I'm like, well, but that's not what you were saying in the text.
Just let me read those out loud.
Yeah, I had to. It's like, wait a minute, why did you? That was really me.
Jeez, yeah, it's crazy how I just say brave.
Yeah.
Some folks are, and it's really interesting. Like you know that's your profile picture.
Right.
I've seen you before, and that's not how you really act. Like, and I don't know why everything's got to be public today. Like, people air out way too much dirty. I enjoy reading it. I'm not gonna lie. Air out all your laundry, people. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna laugh. I'm probably not gonna comment at all. I'm just gonna, like you said, sitting on the toilet laughing. Like that's me. I'm just reading.
I'm
through.
a troll, man. I have to troll. Like I can't help it. So I don't know if I'm allowed to mention this, but apparently the fire chief in Norwalk had an incident. We had an OWI.
Right. I hadn't heard. I just seen somebody said something about.
Yes, I don't know the specific details, but it was being discussed in a public forum where it obviously should not have been.
Right.
And like, people really wanted to talk about it and feel whatever they were going to feel about it. And for me, I was just like, well, what if I got in here and just fired off a bunch of jokes? Right. It was like, that's all I'm going to, because like, man, I just put myself in his shoes and I was like, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, that's
like being
awful.
Talked about that way, like how it would make me feel. And then I was like, but imagine if he were to read this and in the middle of it, there were just like some random idiot just being dumb.
Throwing in some just random
like,
non sequiturs.
Yeah, like that. And I was like, that's always my go-to. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's. And so I think I said something along the lines of them, like, they need to stock the, instead of putting water in the trucks to spray down fires, they just stock it with booze. And to me, I think I stumbled upon a great idea. So, like hopefully he reads it and gets a good laugh. But for me, I'm like, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
That's a good kind of trolling. When I think of trolling, it's like making people go, "Oh, I'm stupid." Like
sometimes we end up there. Sometimes we end up there. But
sometimes people need somebody to make them get there.
Yes, I'll just. There's
Not
nothing
the troll
else to
you
say.
need; it's the troll you deserve. Sometimes,
Amen.
Any big plans with comedy career? Anything on the horizon? Big things coming, or taking it step by step still?
I'm probably going to be recording my second album at some point this year. Going to be doing touring is about to open back up.
What's your first album name again?
It's called The Squirrels Get Fat.
Yes, Squirrels Get Fat. That's right.
So if you listen to this, go buy it right now. It's available everywhere. It's my ode to Iowa, and so the second album. I've got some festivals coming up. Maha Music Festival. I'm doing the comedy there. I'm doing the Altercation Comedy Festival later this year. Got a couple more that I haven't announced yet, but yeah, just trying to get back into the groove of things, and then making up for the time I lost, because again, the album comes out during the pandemic. I can't tour
right
with that momentum, so hopefully we get the second one out, write another 45 minutes of material, and then we can tour. And
how long does it take you to put together a 45-minute set?
Oh my goodness. Months, years. The first album, I put it out after, so it came out 2020 and I started in 14, so that was 6 years. But I recorded it in 2019, so there's a little bit of a gap there, and then 2019 to now. The next,
so you snuck it in under the wire of COVID,
and so the second 45 has come along a lot quicker, but again, COVID is involved in that, and so if I've got it together right now, but by the time I tour it and get it ready to record, I'll trim that down, and the 45 I do now will probably be closer to an hour 15. And then that extra 30 minutes, wherever I cut it from, I will then record, take that extra 30, and then take the extra 30 and go out on the road and start developing the next 45 from there, and then trim where I can. And
gotcha. When you're out touring, how long are you gone on the road? I mean, nice not having a kid, so you're able to do that without having to worry about too much. But how long are you gone usually?
Generally, I try to set it up so I'm not out touring like nonstop. So I'm generally like gone Thursday through Monday, and I try to make it so that I come back home. But 2019, for example, I think I worked 37 or 38 weekends.
Okay.
So like pretty busy, but then, and when I say that's on the road, and then like another probably 10 or so between the Funny Bone and like local stuff. So
gotcha.
Yeah, man. I have toured where I've like gone out and been gone for like weeks at a time, but I try to not be away from home for more than like 3 weeks.
Gotcha. Yeah, I assume trying to hit local, or not necessarily always local, like Kansas City, Omaha, try to make little loops around St. Louis.
I do Denver a lot, Minneapolis a lot. I kind of work LA when I need to, Vegas. Just whoever's got a check for me that weekend,
sure,
I generally show up for, but I try to make it make sense. So when if I know I got a spot in Vegas, 2 months from now, I may go ahead and go, all right, I want to be doing the West Coast thing. Then I'll try to maybe put an LA weekend before the Vegas weekend, maybe a Denver weekend after, see if I know someone who's touring through, say, like Salt Lake or somewhere for the weekend after that, and then try to make it so it's like, all right, these 4 weekends in a row, I'm going to be going out west.
Right.
These 4 weekends in a row, I may be going Memphis, Nashville, Huntsville, Alabama, Atlanta.
Gotcha.
And that way I'm not like crisscrossing and
right.
Like
it's got to be nice to be able to see all the different parts of the country, though. And
yeah, I love it. But you got to remember, I was a trucker before, so like,
sure.
I got a chance to see it.
I've done a lot of driving with jobs in the past. It's different driving through than stopping and seeing the place. Like it's been through Dallas, but I've never been to Dallas. You know what I mean? Like
the thing that's dope is when you can stop and like you can have a meal and meet the people. And I love the zoo and I love museums.
Yeah.
And if I go to your city and there's a museum, I'm going to it. If I go to your city and there's a zoo, I'm going. Like, so yeah, for me, let's do it. I'm like,
yeah,
plug me in, baby. Let's go.
Nice. Ever get to open for any super famous or partial famous or recognizable names?
Quite a bit. That's kind of how things work for me a lot. So Pauly Shore, Cedric the Entertainer,
wow,
Mike Epps. Like I get around. Fortune Feimster, who is doing quite a bit now. My friend Jeff Dye was just here. He's a pretty big deal. Godfrey, so many people like D.L. Hughley.
Nice.
Like, generally speaking, I'm kind of like the Midwest. Like I'm the go-to guy when someone is like, "Hey,
I'm going to Omaha. I need somebody this weekend."
Yeah, I need someone new that's gonna not let the show drag. And like, all right, we got this guy Dante. You'll love him, and there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't do the I need somebody that's not going to drag, but it's not funnier than me. Like, they ever pull that type of...
No, the funny thing is, I think most of them are at a point where they're just like, they're not going to be funnier than me. And sometimes, and I'm not saying this like to be mean to any of them, but sometimes it doesn't go in their face. Sometimes I am funnier than them just because, people, if I'm doing...
They're the marquee.
Right.
They don't have to be that funny.
But the other thing is that, like, if you bring me in to do a theater show in Omaha to open for, Godfrey or someone, he's been in New York for the past month. He's not thinking about what's going on here. And I've got all these great jokes about Come and Go, and people are like, oh, he said the thing that we know about. Yeah. And it's like, and I picked Godfrey because I've never been funnier than him. Yeah. So like, that's not a concern when you say Godfrey. I didn't want anyone to hear that and be like, oh, he did better than such and such. No. Godfrey's impossible to top. But yeah, that it happens that way where it's like, oh well, like you said, they're the marquee. So
yeah, is it a pretty big competitive scene still? I mean, I imagine some folks probably just kind of gave it up over the last year, might be picking it back up, or
it's pretty competitive. But the other thing is that, like, most of the time, if you're a good person and you're funny, the vets want to see you do well.
Right. So they take care of you.
So they're like, oh man, great work.
Encouraging.
Thank you for making the show better. And those are the people that I adore. I love those people who are like, go out there and crush. Like, if I don't hear them laughing from my dressing room, you're not doing your job. And then they come out and they're like, okay, like that's what I'm talking about. And
it's good.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate the competitive nature of it and that they still push you to do better. But I think genuinely rooting for you, especially when I have nothing, like I'm a nobody to a lot of these people, and for them to open themselves up to me to be like, all right, I want to see you do great now. Like, oh man, thanks. That's awesome.
Yeah. I saw this happen on I think it was like an open mic night deal that I had me and my wife had went to, but they were like having like bingo cards in the background of audience reactions, and so like somebody had like spit out a little bit, and they're like spit take, like they were obviously like, but they were keeping track of the stupid stuff the crowd was doing. So that a pretty common practice.
Somewhat, we all have things that we kind of like and look to in shows. you know, just as performers, you have things that you notice from the stage that nobody else would ever
pick up on. And
yeah, and then we also do it amongst ourselves where, like, you know, one of the things we do at the Comedy Kickback is sometimes we'll have like a word or phrase, and I'll go to my buddy Bernard and I'll be like, I bet you can't say the phrase chicken coop tonight.
Try to sneak it in on the act.
Yeah, and he'll be like, all right, I bet you can't say horse stable. I'm like, all right, I guess it's farm night at the Comedy Kickback. Or, you know, there was one time where I was like, I bet you won't start the show in a different shirt than you end the show in.
Interesting.
And it could be something as simple as like wearing a hoodie up and then taking the hoodie off.
Right.
Or what, like if you want to do it that easily, but you know, there's also the possibility that he may go up there and take his shirt off,
right,
perform shirtless for a while, and then put on some lady from the audience's shirt.
Right.
So you like you just never know, but it makes it fun for us.
Any bad experiences with hecklers, or usually handle it all right?
Yeah.
Or do you look forward to them?
No, I don't look forward to them. Yeah. I don't want to put that out there at all. I've just been lucky that people have, like, every time I've been heckled, it's either ended and it's just been like, okay, stop talking, or, you know, because I'm not one of those guys that's gonna like. The thing with the heckler is if I go right back at them, that's what they're expecting.
Sure.
The thing I like to do is, like, I try to kill them with kindness.
Gotcha.
So like, well, what did you say? What's your name? Like, tell me more about you. And then they're like, my name? I don't know.
So, I'm on the spot now. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, cool. Let's stop talking and let me finish. Like,
yeah.
Let's do that.
You paid money to hear me talk, so let's, yeah.
So, yeah, it's...
hecklers are weird.
But that's
They're probably the same people that I'm talking about on Facebook. Just the brave online.
But you also have to remember that, like, that's their thing. Like, that's their one thing they came with, and they're like, if I get any opportunity to do this, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get a laugh.
Imagine that's what you're looking forward to in a day.
It's strange, but people do it, and so it's like I just have to learn to work with it, and I feel like I've done a decent job. Like I said, I've never had anyone. I've never had a heckler come up to me after a show and be like, "Hey, man, you're kind of a dick."
Right.
Like, it's generally been like, "Oh, hey, man, I'm the guy that was heckling you," and I'm like, "I know who you are. Like, I saw you. Like, don't do that anymore."
This ain't no secret. Yeah.
And so, like I said, it's always been fairly cordial and
good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate you sitting down. You were the first for the Norwalk
nice.
List of shows, so you kind of popped the cherry.
Good. That's what I'm no.
Careful.
Not what I'm
known for. Don't want. Yeah. Don't need expectations. Yeah.
There we go. Amen.
No. Where can folks find you? You got an album out, and
The Squirrels Get Fat, available everywhere you listen to and buy albums. I'm on Twitter at Dante Powell, Instagram at Moose Rattler, MOOSERATTLER. And one thing I like to do on podcasts is tell the listeners they can email me. I just think it's funny. You can email me at moose.rattler@gmail.com. I don't know what you would ever email me about, but feel free to do it.
Nice. I always enjoy hate mail personally. I just love to read hate mail. So
send me some hate mail.
Yeah. It's fun to read. Like
it is. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Hate mail me up, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And
thank you, man. This is a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and we'll see you next time.